Let's start off just talking about what is Impossible first.
So Impossible is a social network that connects people to do things for each other for free. So it's trying to encourage a peer-to-peer gift economy.
How does that work? I mean, what kinds of things do you want people to do free?
Hopefully a bit of everything. Everything we normally pay for. So people can post, we call them wishes. So it can be, it's like, kind of like a tweet. So people structure it however they want to say it. People often ask for advice, or they ask for skills, services to learn languages, help with their gardening. You know, there's like lots of things like that. Products too. So people offer things like they want to give away for free. And the only ground rule is that everything is done for free. And you can then see your neighbours' content, so you can see content of people who live near you. And then you can also see your friends' content, so you can see the wishes of your friends. And then also ideas you might be interested in. So if I'm interested in cooking and yoga, I can start seeing wishes to do with those subjects. And if I want to connect with one of them, all I have to do is then connect with that person.
I want to just see if we can focus on the concept of happenstance, because in many cases this seems to be the idea that you put something up there, and if you happen to come by and see that this is something that you can do, then the idea would be, please go ahead and help somebody else. Do that for them.
Yeah, it's just trying to make the thought process initially was that I grew up in London, I lived in New York for several years. In these big metropolitan cities, you often don't know your neighbours, and you often don't know the opportunities for people to connect and do things with one another. And I do believe that if we were shown those opportunities, humans are often naturally generous, and they often naturally do react to that content and say, actually, yeah, it's really easy, I can do that. And this is my wish, and hopefully somebody else sees that and goes, yeah, I can do that.
Is there a certain kind of sort of irony here that you yourself and your career in the modeling world started because someone just happened to see you, and then Storm Models was created, and I think part of the mission statement is to be at Gatwick Airport and watch people and come up to them and connect them, because that's where the future models and people in the industry can be found.
I've never made that connection before, but I do believe in serendipity, and that a lot of my life, including being scouted when I was 14, like a lot of the...
Is that what happened, though? I mean, someone just saw you on the street?
Yeah, in Soho in London, and asked me to model.
And what did you say?
I was a little bit dubious at first, and then I looked into it, and they were a reputable agency, so then I got more excited and went along with it.
Okay, so that happenstance thing leads to a career in modeling.
Yeah.
And Storm Models, I believe you were affiliated with. What was the basis of that?
Well, they're the agency who initially scouted me.
Right.
And then I stayed in school until 3 years ago, so finished university. I also did several films, and all of these different junctures in my life have come through largely through serendipity. So that's not kind of the language I couch Impossible in, because there is a logic to it. Like, there are algorithms and hashtags and hopefully more mechanical ways that you see content that's valuable to you. But serendipity naturally plays a part in it too, and that hopefully will trigger things as well.
That, in your description of first being spotted as a younger person, what was the feeling that had to change inside you for you to trust that this was going to be something that you felt okay doing? Because when you go to a website, you don't necessarily know who is really behind there. I mean, you don't have a way of really vetting. You can't go and physically see them before you end up showing up. Does that figure into this?
Yeah, and I think it's potentially a big obstacle, but it's part of the reason I want to do it, because I think that in encouraging greater trust and greater connection and social cohesion and community between strangers and between one another is a really valuable thing to do. And most of the time, people aren't like mass murderers, you know. And you can obviously do some research. You can meet them in a safe place. Like, you can still be intelligent about how you encounter a stranger, so you don't put yourself in a difficult situation. But for the most part, I think people would surprise you at how lovely or generous or interesting they can be.
And based on your experience, I know you've also done work for the Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation. This idea that you are on, as I mentioned, the cover of magazines, and people see who you are, but they don't really know who you are. How do you kind of bridge that gap between what you sense is their perception and what you know really to be what you want to do or who you are in your life?
I'm try to be more and more authentic as a person, and I think as I've grown up, I've become more and more comfortable with being able to say my opinion and speak my kind of truth, like know my truth to speak my truth. And I try and bring that to every situation, whether it's like a conversation with you or my relationships with existing friends, and my working relationships too. How much that translates to people that just see my image. Obviously, I can't control and I don't know, but all I can do is just try and be as open as possible.
And with this website, Impossible, you're kind of asking everyone else to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a huge investment in a way in a kind of optimistic idea of the capacity of human beings to trust one another, to cooperate more, to be kind, and actually extraordinarily so far it seems to be like working. So that's great.
All right, so but having said all this, I mean, it does cost money to at least set all this up. I mean, where does the money come from? Is it just from your earnings that you're using to set this up, Impossible?
So actually, extraordinarily, a lot of it's come through the gift economy, through the actual idea it's trying to create. So I've personally put money into its development. Our CTO, the kind of technical developer, he's also invested into it. And then so many different companies and individuals have gifted different elements. So a PR company will gift their time, a legal company will do the legal work, and somehow extraordinarily we've gotten to launch through that kind of amalgamation of goodwill, basically.
How many people on now? Any way to measure this?
There's 25,000 now.
25,000 already.
And we opened in the UK at the end of last year. We just started promoting in the US a week ago, and so it's kind of every day there's new people joining.
Impossible.com.